Hello again to our Tuesday drawing session. Okay, now we've started that before, but then somehow it drifted apart, so we can come back to this model of working with the model, basically this way of working, going back and working on parts of the body, which we had the model like about a couple of weeks ago. And this hand, we all had, me included, we had some difficulties working with it and making it properly looking as it is bending here towards us, and it's beautifully landing to the neck. So there's an angle here, and we all had difficulty with that. But so also it doesn't help that the model that we draw is very, very small. I mean the size of the model, or the size of the drawing, sorry, the size of the drawing is very small. Or when you do it at that, let's say 25 centimeters or 20 centimeters, then you don't have space to develop the hand or work on the hand only, or make sense of the hand, how the hand is actually looking, or if it feels 3D, if it feels lifted up. So let's work on this particular part, and this will be a smooth landing for Teresa, which just started. And let's see the angle and the angle and the volume of the hand. So first of all, we have that square here, which is, and I'm zooming in on this particular hand now, but of course the hand is very, very small on the figure drawing. But no matter how small it is, if you would like to work it separately, or place some more attention, that would be one of the ways. So we have that square here, and this is the palm, and then the wrist, which comes down here. Let's move that up a little bit. Then you have the wrist, there. And then with the fingers moving, if the palm is there, the fingers are slightly moving towards the left hand side. So there's another angle with the fingers themselves. So there you have the angle here. So the fingers are moving there. This is basically a very quick assessment of where the middle finger is. Then you have the ring finger and the small finger here, and a thumb. Now the thumb, it feels like the beginning is here, well, the end, or that angle of the thumb goes in the middle of the square, so somewhere here. And let's see how the thumb looks there. Okay, it's quite elongated here. Don't know why the figure doesn't stand there. Okay, it does. Okay, so the thumb is there, and it's connected to the beginning of the palm, the square. This square. This is an imaginary square, or not so imaginary if you look like this. So that's pretty much a square. Well, not a regular square, but it's roughly squarish. And then you have the wrist, as we said, and the fingers, which are moving towards that side. There's an angle to the fingers there. And now the middle finger is always longer. And ring finger here, and the small finger there. Okay, so far so good. The fingers are quite delicate, thin, long, and now next step will be to help ourselves, if we're doing well with the width and the length of the fingers, one other measurement we need to do, well, it is not a measurement, but it works as a measurement, would be to add the shadow. See the shadow? It's like a triangular shape. The shadow of the hand, this one here. So that's in the shadow. And the wrist is also, this side is in the shadow. And then the cast shadow of the hand itself onto her body. So it's all this dark part. Although if we zoom in, we can see that the flesh or the chest is slightly darker. Darker than, so it's slightly darker than the hand. Slightly darker here, the chest. Okay, we can do it now or leave it for later on, but it's there. Okay, but also we have a slightly darker flesh on this side too, on here. So that's also a darker tonal value. It's a very it's a middle tone. It's not a dark tone like here, but it's still darker than the hand. Now, why is it darker than the hand? Because we have the light illuminating that part of the hand and the index finger together with the thumb, and then we have a very soft tone, slightly darker tone, and the darkest. So there are three beautiful soft tones we have here. And then get that dark here, which is this cast. That's a casting shadow of the thumb. Then you have that finger here, which I ignored, but we have that bone structure which comes down here. It's that one here. And thumb itself with a beautiful nail here. Of course, making it a small figure, we don't have the luxury of that detailed version of the hand, but this is what we can do, or work separately with different parts of the body. Sometimes work with the hand, sometimes with the drapery or the nose of the model, if we're stuck with the nose, or the chin or the jaw, even hair, anything. This, but I'm giving that example not because hands, and particular hands and feet, are very difficult to deal with. Now, another thing that I should mention is that the ratio of, or the length of the fingers is about, so the whole hand from the wrist to the tip of the finger, the middle of that, so from here till there, the middle is somewhere here, which is where the skin of the palm becomes the finger itself. Let's see if that's the case. It looks like, maybe it's not. So here, the skin, tip of the brush, my finger here lines up with that line, and then move it upwards. No, it's not the case. That means that it's a bit lower, so somewhere here, not there where the skin is, somewhere here, there. That's it, that's the middle is here. So it's before the skin. So the middle of me would be 1, 2, or leave that there. Either I raise or elongate that thumb, index finger, or I lower. That's lowering, that's increasing. My finger goes down, you see? my index finger goes down, that's increasing the size of the measurement. And my finger goes up, that's lowering the the bar. Lowering the bar of measurement, that means that I can adjust, make it bigger, or adjust it by making it smaller or bigger, the measurement of my finger, to measure these two parts. So it's one here, one there, here, there. So that's the middle here. That's the middle. From here to there, it's the same as that from there to there. But we do have the finger here, the skin, which is this one there. So let's keep it. Keep the index finger here with the nails. That's one. And it looks short now, but what will make it not look as short as it looks now is to add this shadow here, which is this one here. That will make the finger look longer. And the same with the middle finger. It's slightly longer than the index finger. It's there. So it's there. Index finger is here, middle finger there. And of course we do have a nail. And the finger itself. Bend it there. It's about 10 degree or 15 degree on a right angle. And that's the middle finger. Then the ring finger, which is longer than what I've done initially. Here you will see the thumbnail here, it's slightly lower than the middle finger, so it's there. And the small finger, of course, which is much lower than all other three. So on an angular line, it just goes to, it's that angle, which is that angle on the hand here. So what I'm measuring here, okay, because that's kind of don't want to make it abstract. I'm actually practically doing this. I'm taking that right angle here from the thumb of the middle of the small finger to the thumb. That's the end of the thumb. So the end of the nail of the small finger goes to the beginning of the nail of the index finger. This one I'm measuring. But I'm taking the angle here and I'm putting the same angle there on my drawing. So that's the beginning of the thumb of the small finger. And that, sorry, I take it back. That's the end of the small finger, the thumb of the small finger. That's the beginning of the nail of the index finger. There. Okay. Next is to keep the light on all fingers. One, that light area, and put some dark tonal values, at least darker than what they are, on all fingers. Going back with a bit more of pressure on my charcoal. There. And here, wrist. Okay, and now a little bit of shadow for the ring finger here, and shadow there. I'm copying inverted commas, or trying to recreate that beautiful light here, and on the index middle finger, and they all bend it, you see, especially the middle finger like that. And what I need to rectify here, I think that I need to come back and make it even wider. That one here. That structure, the bone structure where it meets the imaginary square. Okay, and index finger, elongate that, bring a little bit lower this area, or that part where the imaginary square meets the thumb. And we have the thumb here. Okay. Now I can afford now to go slightly darker with my charcoal. And of course, this is the zoomed version of the model and only one part of the model. So you cannot do that on a very, very small drawing. But if we were to tackle the hand only, this is the answer. And we need to look or make the illusion of this lifted up, lift towards us wrist. And wrist here. And we have a slight reflected light on the end of hand. So this is reflected light. Slightly lighter tone here in the ring finger here, there. And the middle finger, that bone structure which moves here. It's this one there, this one here. Now that's crucial. Why? Because that tendon here, that tendon gives the impression of the hand, the fingers landing to the body, but then the hand moving up towards us. This is how you get that tendon. It's the stress. Well, not much of a stress, but it's the hand as it moves up. As the hand moves up, that tendon reveals itself. So you see, this is this one here. So it's very important to give special attention to this one. That will make, or will give us will give us the impression that part of the hand is moving towards us. And also these two, this one and that one. But to make that one more visible, I need to give that middle tone value, and this one here, that tendon here, and middle tone here. There, softly with my fingers, I'm revealing all those areas here. So that would be your exercise for this week, basically, to work, instead of giving you another figure drawing, which would be a bit much of the same thing, is to catch up on what we've done and to go more in depth. It's like a kind of a little masterclass of different body parts of the models we've done so far. Let me know if you're happy with it. I think this is a good way of going and studying parts of the body which are quite often very difficult for everyone to manage. So here I'm emphasizing this because you see that tendon, it's the same one which goes there, but it looks like it's stopped there at this point and then continues there. It didn't stop, or it's not stopping because it's connected. It's the same tendon, but it looks like it's disconnected at this point. And keep that line straight, this one, because I bended it. Keep it straight like that. Soften this whilst I'm here. I was here. This is the way that I think of things most of the time. I was here, and then I saw that was quite dark compared to this. So come back and soften this, and then that flesh tone slightly darker. Give that impression or that illusion of the darker flesh tone. Here I have no lines at all. So fingers, no lines. Lose the lines. Becomes more organic, becomes more believable. There are no strong lines in nature most of the time, except this one here. And even that is not like this. It's not. It blends with the flesh tone. And the wrist, of course. Now the wrist, you see the wrist, if the wrist was here, then I will completely defeat all my effort. Because it looks that the hand is just plainly doing this. It's there. But if I do that, see my wrist is coming towards us, and that's softly blending or touching the body. And this is where the tendons start appearing here. Okay, so that will not make the hand, that straight line will make the whole wrist and arm being completely rested on the body. But that now is a huge difference. You see, the wrist, the line of the wrist gets way deeper than this one here. Look at the difference. That goes whoosh. Continue that imaginary line there. Look at the difference. Way more on the insides of the imaginary square. There you have the wrist here. And of course, middle tone, middle tone, middle tone. There. And softer that dark line. Okay. And I like that. I don't know why, but it's almost not important at all, but it's good to give it a thought, a second thought. Look, that beautiful light here. There. It's good to have it because, see, without even emphasizing the line, that light, it's enough to show the difference of shadows, darker shadow. It's like a natural frontier of the hand and the cast shadow the arm, lower arm and wrist, and the cast shadow that the wrist creates onto the body. So it's this one here. But keep in mind, this it's way lighter than that shadow. So what I mean is that these two lights are the same on me. So give that a little bit of a darker tonal value there. That was here. I had it quite dark before I lighten it up. And that light, which is this one, it's much lighter than the shadow, the reflected light of the hand. Now here, keep an eye. This, it's the knuckle. So there is a difference. It's not straight light there. That bone structure here, another bone structure here, and the middle, the bone structure, the knuckle of the middle finger, and here we are. And this is also important because this is the tendon of that must be the tendon of the index finger. They all converge to this. They all blend and start from this point. Not only that, this too. So that I'm talking about this one here on me. Here. Okay, well, here we are. Now, to make a little bit of a wow factor, I could darken them with my fingers, but that would be too dark. So whilst we have that luxury, using a bit of a brush makes things a little bit more impressive. On inverted commas, impressive. We'll make better shadows, let's put it this way. Softer shadows. See, middle tone in between fingers here. Softer tonal values, lose that line. There's more of a shadow outside the middle, the index finger. Then, so that shadow, this one here, that tiny little middle tone will create the line that we need. And middle tone there, which is the body. Much darker tonal value here. And here I can come a little bit and lighten that up a little bit more. And soften all these shadows here with my brush. Now you can do it with your fingers, but the brush will be, it's softer. It just blends the darks, makes them much softer. Now what I'm actually doing is that I'm recreating that softer tonal value here, look, which is this one here. Do you see that the hand looks like it's moving up towards us? Or I hope you see that. Maybe I'm just thinking of it this way and it's not looking that way, but you let me know. There. Now, another thing that we can do to make it even more, to make us believe that we're seeing that volume or that bending inwards and upwards here on the wrist, is to keep that light lighter, the lightest light to be here, and these 1, 2, 3 a slightly darker tonal value, although they're not. But for the purpose of our drawing, to make our drawing more impactful, we keep it that way, or we bend a little bit the rule, if you like. So what I'm actually emphasizing here, almost instinctively, I want to emphasize that dark tonal value here, this particular one, because this, if I emphasize that, that will be enough to lift the whole hand towards us. And the wrist, the bone structure of where the wrist meets the palm, this one, which I ignored until now. This bone structure, it's extremely important here. Again, I'm exaggerating those shadows because that's lifting my hand up. There. Here. Okay, now I can see these are quite dark, which is this line here. It's the cast shadow of this index finger on the middle finger. But there's still a line, I cannot ignore it. So let's put that line. and emphasis on this bone structure here, the little bones that we have on the fingers, especially on a finger like that, which gives you such a generous finger in the sense that it's quite long and it gives all those readings of bone structure very, very easily. Okay, and now here, and now we don't need to take all our shadows and look after them like religiously. Being very, very meticulous about everything we see. You can just emphasize few landmarks. If that was a landscape, these are landmarks. This one here, and that one there. Okay. And if you like, you like the nails, of course. Nails are beautiful. But let's do the nails. A little bit more the nails. And look at this. You see a landmark on the landscape of here, on that landscape. Is this landmark here? This one, where the nail starts. This, which is where the nail gives where the light and the shadow is, and the shadow of the nail on the flesh when too dark. Okay, now, and blend those. If you squint your eyes, you will see that there is no line separating the nail from the flesh. Oh, it's very, very, there is a line, but it's very extremely soft line. And that the landmark on the second finger is this, the start of the nail. It's quite high. On a angular line, it's there. So it's here. And, well, I'm doing all this, but on a very small drawing, you will not have the opportunity to do all these details. So you just have to kind of give them the impression of you got, well, first of all, you have all the fingers there, which are 4. This one here. And some little highlights here and there, and then you're done. So there's no need to give more information here. When you do the hand as big as that, yes, as I'm doing it now. But on a small scale, it's complete unnecessarily. Doing all these intricate details that we're doing here. I'm softening all my lines here, and I'm creating my own thing here, which is basically I'm creating of course there is kind of a semi-circle here, but I'm doing it even more so. Again, it's all about to create that tension. It's not a tension, but, you know, that tension of tendons moving or landing the fingers onto the body. There is a little tension, but not physical tension. It's just the way that the hand moves. And this beautiful bone structure we said earlier, not to miss that. This one here, that highlight here. That tension, inverted commas. Okay. An emphasis on that dark. Well, I hope I achieved, and we, as in hopefully you'll do the same, the impression that the hand moves and lands to the body and have that curvy, natural bend. And finally, let's differentiate the darks. And what I mean by that is that the darks which are closest to the light are darker. So this dark here is closest to the light. So, but we said earlier on that this is darker. The cast shadow of the hand on the flesh, on the chest, is darker than the hand itself. Okay, that's true. But that's when you work the whole body. In here, we work in the hand only. So I will deliberately darken this area more than the cast shadow of the hand on the body. I mean, I can still darken it, but I want to concentrate on the drawing of the hand and the impression of the hand and the illusion that the hand is turning and is coming towards us. So what I'm actually doing here is also softening all these dark tonal values a little bit more. Okay. And give that now those darks on the hand itself and render those a little bit better. Rendering those darks, make them a little bit darker to lift up, as we said, the hand and the wrist towards us. Here. Okay. And as I said, we can still at least make it darker than what it is now. A little bit darker than what it is now. So darkest dark, second darkest dark, the cast shadow of the hand and wrist on the body. And let's not forget this light. We'll do it now. The thin, long middle finger, the index finger, highlight here, right here, where the neck is. Okay, and we have that little line which connects the arm, the palm with the thumb, and a little bit of a middle tone of the thumb here. Did I say thumb? Yes, I did. Yeah. So, yes, okay. So we have a thumb here and highlight of the rounded semi-spherical, this one here, bone, highlight of that bone structure here, the tendon actually, highlight of that, softer middle tone here, before you go to the very, very, very dark tone. And knuckles. Notice how I'm using the brush. I mean the charcoal this way. Not elongate, not vertical, almost horizontal, with an angle, of course. For the knuckles, little where the bones are. Knuckles and that part, which I'm missing the word now. This one here. This. Okay. And that shadow is important here. This shadow is actually darker. This line is darker than that line. You see, so that line here is darker, sharper than this. That's almost like a middle tone compared to that dark. And the landmark here. Here I don't see where that ends. Well, you can zoom in and see it, but it's almost not there. I'm talking about the end of the nail. Okay, now it's time to use some putty rubber. Okay, putty rubber. Do you remember we said to keep the lightest light here on the thumb, nail first, thumb, and the index finger. Soften the putty, give it a sharp edge, and use it and scoop it like this. Lose the line here. I'm talking about that particular line. It's blending with the flesh tone. And highlight here. A highlight of the whole structural underlying structure, which is basically on the skeleton. This is the semispherical shape, and the highlight of the index finger. Here the line blurs completely, blends with the flesh tone, and the nail here. I can make it a little bit wider, the nail, by using a bit of putty rubber and making it a bit thicker. The index finger there. But definitely I wanted to blend, as this finger, it's the one which is touching the neck. So softly lose those very dark lines that I've done earlier on and blend it with the neck. Middle tone here. Now I'll keep that the lightest light, as we said, and come back and revisit all these light areas here, but keeping in mind this is the strongest light here that reinforces the structure behind the hand. The highlight here. I can soften that a little bit more, all that area, the triangular shape of here. There. There. Now we've said less lighter, but less light. Lighter all this area, but less light, a bit not as bright as this light here. So I'm talking about these areas here. Brighten them a little bit more, but not that much. And this tendon we've spoken earlier on. There. Ring finger. A little bit lighter than what it was. There. And the the small finger. Here is the thickest and the lightest part. There we are. Okay. I can make the nail of the ring finger a little bit more, slightly lighter. Just the impression of where it is, where it ends, where it starts or ends. And with the brush, give that flesh tone here of the body. That will create a line. And slightly lighter that line, and blend it here with the flesh tone of the neck. I'm blending those two dark shadows here. Well, they're quite dark, but I'm blending these two, ring finger and middle finger, with the shadows. Less information. Sometimes less is more. Blending them together, and that lands them better, is it, to the rest of the neck. There. And some highlight here. A little bit lighter here, reflected light. Bone structure here, and not to forget, do you remember we said that highlight here? Here, there, which connects or creates the separation of the hand to the breast. Oh, the breast is here. Well, once we're here, we can do a little bit of that rounded semicircle we have here of the breast. Here, here. There. It's not needed, but whilst we're here, close by, we just highlight the breast here, and that is enough. Okay. A little bit more of the highlight. A bit more rendering here, especially on the small finger. I'm lightening it up. I know it's not as bright as we said earlier on, so to keep the lights a little bit subdued here, but I'm doing it now, so I can come now with a brush and soften those highlights a little bit more. And this index finger a little bit thicker here. There. And the neck, that line, that part here, and this where the collarbone is, that turn there, which is here, somewhere here. Soften the lines, soften the lines that the putty rubber does with your fingers, or brush if you like. Longer fingernails, a little bit longer this fingernail, especially the middle one, middle finger there, and the ring finger and the small finger as well. Okay, now, as I said, I will soften them now. Clean the brush from a lot of dust, and make those highlights a little bit less brighter, less brighter. And here as well. And here we are. We've got the hand. We've zoomed. We will zoom more on parts of the body as we go along, and to catch up with the modeling, with the models that we have. I don't think it's I think it's helpful to stop. I don't think it's always better to create and work on models and models and models every week. Sometimes it's going back and revisiting all these old models that we have just to work on parts. And I'm sure that all of us will benefit from that, me included, myself included here, to work on particular parts of the body. Not special, well, they are special, but there are particular parts of the body, and that coming back and forth until we start an understanding of how to deal with difficult parts when they are not as easy to comprehend or to distinguish from the rest of the body. And that will create also a muscle memory, which if you work on the particular section like we're working now on the fingers and hand or feet in the future and drapery, when you've done them, particularly like we're doing it now and before, we've done that before obviously, but I should come back onto that model. Then you create muscle memory. You've done it once, you can do it easily the next time, or easier next time. I'm adjusting the hand now here as I'm talking to make it a little bit longer, and maybe lose that line almost completely. There. And the tendons, reinforce the tendons here. And here, that line here, that line there. And yeah. Okay, I'll see you on the next task. Okay, see you in the next video. Good night.